And we live.
GM
GMGM.
Jam.
DK, the Doplomat, the Dopfluencer. Getting some paper time.
It's
So it
also
seems like
tiresome.
yeah. From it seems like from 2 days ago our chat we had on here that there's been some progress made. Um it seems like there is a lot of support for the RFP proposal. There's been some withdrawals of other proposals. A lot going on in Arbitrum land. You want to give a brief update?
Um, sure.
You're like, nah. You're like, no, 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 no. I'm so
I
done.
mean,
I'm tired.
we can turn this into the Arbitrum show. Probably get I'll have, at least all of my cohort will listen. So we'll have a steady 15 listeners. Um, no. Yeah. So the quick and dirty is there's like an Arbitrum workshop yesterday. All the auditors have pretty much all the security services are pretty much aligned to kind of go forward with an RFP process. I have a small working group that literally was just stood up yesterday, so we're going to be expanding the members in it. But right now, we're kind of meeting with a lot of different auditing groups to hear their concerns on the service provider side, just to make sure that like that's fully accounted for, because I may not have full scope of what their needs are, and I want to make sure that those are addressed. Um, so in the next today, tomorrow, and the next day, I have a lot of calls, and then there's a lot of auditors that are happy to just stay informed instead of like having a longer discussion. So there's an 3 times the amount that just are like keep us in the loop, keep us up to date, let us know when the RFP process is up for us to start putting together like a bid, I guess. So yeah, that's the main things. There's a lot of back and forth on some of the other proposals. Another proposal went up for extending, like back funding the STIP, which I think is a like there are some.
Is that to include protocols that reach quorum but did not get included due to the economics of divvying out the 50 million, or is this to get it back kind of on schedule, I guess?
Look, there's been
Like
like
technically you're
multiple
supposed to
calls,
start
there's
on the
been
15th.
multiple forum discussions on it. The the gist of it is they want to anyone who had more for votes than against votes and had reached quorum, which is I think 21 million additional Arbitrum, should be also successfully funded, which is an option if it's approved. And that was always an option that was put together in the initial terms. However, the consensus from my perspective, and that could be wrong, could be, other cohorts might feel differently, is that if the conditions were changed, they would have voted differently, right? And so under the conditions that currently existed when they voted a certain way. Now you're changing the conditions to say, if the total allotment was 75 million or whatever, then I would have voted the same thing. And that is not a fair assumption, because I think that there are a significant amount of delegates who voted for significantly more than 50 million in terms of the
Agreed.
project that they voted for. Also, there are some delegates who try to not raise contention with the way that they vote. And so, knowing that these projects were most likely not going to be funded, they voted for them anyways, just so they can stop the discussion. And so, they're kind of taking that and running with it and being like, this is the way that the people wanted to. If there was infinite budget, all of these groups would have been approved. And that I don't think that to be the case.
Yeah, I know that there are some larger delegates that have voiced that they spent 15 to like 30 minutes going through each proposal, and like it was completely isolated from uh, the total or the global collection of proposals that have been put up, and they took everyone individually and just voted yes, no based on their ask and the protocol and kind of how they fit into the Arbitrum ecosystem.
Yeah, there were only
Yeah,
a few delegates who actually voted for, like, so including us, we only voted for like 48 million, I think, in total allocation, and we abstained from the rest. All right, and so my abstain also counted towards their quorum, right? And so, but a vast majority of delegates voted for far superior than 50 million, knowing that. So there's just it's like essentially you're changing the rules after the game has been played, and then trying to say that that these points should have been counted, in my perspective, and a lot of other delegates agree with that. And so my recommendation was to do a round two. There was a discussion for a round two. There are projects that did not put up proposals because they were waiting for a round two, and now we are keeping them out of the equation because now there's not going to be a round two. And so we're excluding these members. And I think that there's some, hardworking people that have done a lot of analysis regarding this. And I think that the economic impact is not that significant in the grand scheme of things. However, it's more of a precedent. And I think that from like a fairness assessment, that we should do another round two where these groups can also reapply, because a lot of the asks, the reason that they did not get over the line and did not have significant support to get included within the first round of STIP was because they had outside asks, right? And so the way that the forum is kind of the posts that by, again, there's smart people working on this, and this is not for the main people. This is not all the people working on this, but there is some like virtue signaling that's happening, saying that like only big projects were accounted for when there's plenty of small projects that got approved in the first round because their ask was adequate for the for what the community valued them for, and they thought that it was a fair, and so they got voted in. So like it's just saying that, oh, small projects were ignored, or we didn't know you were supposed to do this, or all these other projects were lobbying and we didn't know we were supposed to talk to anyone. Like the projects that are saying that publicly were lobbying as well, right? So it's gaslighting, it's virtue signaling, and the more I see it, the more it upsets me. And so I don't even think this proposal will hit quorum. So I don't even think that a lot of people are even going to vote against it. I think it's just trying to ignore
if we
it.
did a round two, I think maybe there should be a cap, per project. I think that is one of the larger, I don't want to say issues, but factors that played into a lot of protocols that met quorum not getting it. That there are a few projects that have significantly larger percentages of that STIP supply that are going to them, and rightfully so. They deserve, I think, a larger allocation than other protocols when they are driving significant value to Arbitrum, when they were some of the first and they've been building there the longest. But if we put a cap and we're able to assess them based on the same kind of metrics, if they if we feel the same way about, I don't know, some new project as everyone did about GMX in round one, let's say, or a treasure DAO, then we then they would get the max, and then we can include maybe an extra 5 to less than 10, but a handful more protocols. Now, do you feel like the same protocols would get STIP? I personally feel like there'd be some that would be mixed in there, but that we'd probably get a handful of the ones that were just under the line, getting them over the line in a round two.
I agree with your cap. However, it's not fair for the group that did the first round, but I do think that originally it should have been kept regardless. But I think that there are some that are within this group that is advocating for back funding, that even if it went to a round two and they reapplied, they would not receive back funding.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
I mean, they would not receive, they wouldn't receive within round two as well. And look, that's not the only way. You can also go directly to the foundation and do an ask. There was a group that I saw that went directly to the foundation and had an ask, and they were approved for that. So if it's a smaller project and they've shown value, and there's reason for that to go directly to the foundation, and they think that that's the right method, that's also an option. However, there's a lot. It's a very tedious process. I believe it's less than 1% of applications directed to the foundation are approved.
So as a project, you have two avenues kind of to apply for or look for grants and funding, and that is applying directly to the DAO, or there's a pipeline for foundation grants as well, is what you're saying?
Yeah, foundation are more smaller ticket, B2B. You come in, it's a similar process, I would say, but the foundation has their own allotment that they can. It's to their discretion that they can give out. So they have various different categories in which that they are allocating to, and that is an option. If you feel that you've made a worthwhile impact and you're not getting the attention, or maybe don't have the contacts, or you feel it's like something's unfair against your group, then that is an avenue that you can go as well.
Now, if you're for round two, but you think a lot of or some of the protocols that are lobbying for round two wouldn't get in anyway, do you think that round two should be something that happens soon, given that it's just going to be majority the same protocols, or this is like a yearly, event, annual event that's had for Arbitrum native protocols and like new protocols coming to Arbitrum?
I think that the earliest it should start is the end of step 1, which is Jan 31. So my recommendation, and you can check the form on this, it's public, is to do a round 2, allow for the ones that didn't get selected for round 1, and for the new entrants to do another with maybe like a cap, like you said, and then do that closer towards the end of the year or the beginning of next year, and then target sometime after Jan 31, so that the natural progression of liquidity, which is on Arbitrum, does not leave Arbitrum, but then flows to these other projects, right? Because right now, my hypothesis is that we'll have a large ball of money within the next 3 weeks come into Arbitrum. And instead of having like a natural progression flow of funds, it's going to be PvP, in that, your $1 of capital can either go to, protocol A or protocol B during that time period, right? And so if protocol A has the rapport and the name and the brand, then they're going to get that $1 spend anyways. And so if you're trying to compete during the same time frame, that you're not going to get that the types of users that you want, regardless, you're going to get people that are higher risk and are more farming mercenary capital that come into the like protocol Bs, I would say, in that scenario. And that's not necessarily what you want. You would want to not compete at the same time, so that a user has the adequate, like, the high value users have adequate time to come and use your project, learn more, get some adequate time of farming, learning the project, seeing if it's, if it makes sense to continue to provide liquidity, to get to know the community better. But it's already going to be kind of a free for all. And I don't think that there's going to be, I think it's going to be a lot of
structure like Galaxy, where like every week, it's like you highlight 2 protocols and their STIP incentives start.
Correct.
Then.
Correct.
So then it's just a roll from, one set of protocols to another set of protocols. And maybe within that you pair them up. So you pair the releases with, one protocol that's been around for a while that everyone knows, new protocol or a new set of protocols. So you have kind of like an anchor protocol.
Yep. But you don't want 2 in the same sector.
Yeah, agreed.
And so that's my hypothesis. I believe that's how things will play out. Obviously, there's a lot of groups that don't agree with me and think that, the way that the STIP played out is that it will ultimately be a death knell for them, right? It will sunset their project because they will never be able to they'll never be able to financially recover from this. I don't think that's true. I think a better option would just be, post January to do something else. My recommendation for next year is to do smaller grants that are less incentive, liquidity mining incentive based,
Yeah.
and start experimenting with some cooler ways to utilize those ARB tokens for builders to spend those on hurdles that they have that prohibit them from spending time on the more value add functions. So like, get rid of, a lot of the, like consolidate all the infrastructure costs that projects are paying. Do some like joint research, right? Pay for, there's a lot of university students that are equipped to do and want to do like research on this stuff, but the money is not there right now, or
An ecosystem analytics engineers to make us all Dune dashboards and and
yeah,
analytic
that's
native
another one, like
analytic
Subgraph
pages.
and Dune, like token terminal onboarding. There's like
Yeah.
quite a few things in which that we would have economies of scale with like a shared resourcing plan, and that's what I think we should do. I know that CoinFlip is kind of putting something together right now that is more of a pre-funded allocation that we can be more agile in the spend of ARB. And so that's something I'm supportive of. It's still early stages, but it would be that instead of this formal proposal process, which is insanely time consuming
Yeah.
and insanely bureaucratic, and that involves a lot of lobbying, like I've said before, and it consumes a lot of time for delegates. It's not sustainable, right? Like we're just like minimum levels, and we're going back and forth, back and forth. I'm not. I guess I am. I am a contributor to this. With my proposal of like some of the burn time, time waste, I guess. If you've spent a bunch of time putting a proposal only for me to come up a week later, and then everyone has to kind of agree to this other proposal or be kind of uh, the odd man out. So like I get it, but it's not sustainable long term. So like CoinFlip's kind of working on something that would expedite the speed in which that we can execute on some of this stuff, in which I agree. And I think that's
Like a
like the path
pre-approved
forward.
spend where they could fund you with I don't know, 1.2 million, a salary for a year, according to Steve.
No, but he's looking for a large ticket size, right? It's like
Okay.
100 mil. Throw it in a multi-sig that has a remit, and that remit is to fund a bunch of experiments fast that just
Yeah.
essentially hit quorum on a snapshot vote, right? Not necessarily go through the entire proposal process all the way to on-chain vote.
Totally.
And then
Spending 2 weeks on each topic.
yeah, do like a little bit of money here for an experiment, a little bit of money here for a council setup, a little bit of money here, and then just start funding things that make sense quickly, right? And so like my longer term plan would kind of fit into this. My longer term plan starts out as a phase one of a small amount of budget to hire some support staff to help with organization and documentation and relationships and stuff like that. And then for essentially a committee, or it's a roundtable right now, but I've been requested to change the name from roundtable due to Arbitrum ecosystem branding. I think I changed it to GSOC, Grant Special Operations Committee.
Committee.
I forget. I don't know. I've been focusing on other stuff the last week, so I haven't been able to really spend time lobbying for that. But yeah, it's asked for a small budget for 2 months to have a few groups come together, put together this framework. Essentially, everyone is memeing frameworks, but I mean, this, like I said the other day, it's a lot of money. Can't be willy-nilly on it. So
Yeah.
and then if it works, essentially you do a small ask, you put something together, you show value that exists here, and then once you've shown that value, you then come in back for a larger ask. So I that's the method.
Proof of work. Pay for proof of work.
I have that on the proof of work and proof of integrity are different subcommittees within my proposal. But yeah,
I like it. I like it. So it seemed like, kind of fill us in on. I mean, I guess we'll get into kind of some of the drama, like the Blockroad side of things. Now that their L2 beat dropped out of that, what is happening with that proposal? Is there someone? Are they going to find another service provider to fit in there? Is that proposal kind of out the door now? What's happening on that side? Because it seemed like that's where a lot of contention came in with the proposal you put up between the RFP and, we'll say, like the Arbitrum coalition. They're calling it, maybe. Is it Arbitrum coalition or Arbitrum SP coalition?
yeah, it's the coalition. I mean, it's ongoing. The vote is up. I think there's 2 more days left in the vote. Yeah, this is the thing that I was quoted on. I got to talk to that Alama though.
Yeah, our diplomat was quoted in DL News today.
Yeah. No, I mean it was fine. It's all things that I had like publicly on the forum. I had requested the advocate role, which essentially directs the coalition and how it spends its time to not be a central point of failure, or one that could be influenced via bias or, you know, anything really. It's, you know, it wasn't very Web3 of them to have one person who they pay a significant amount of money to kind of dictate the efforts. So if you say it's essentially a kingmaker role, right? If you say everything, I already went through this, so that's my concern. I think that they have been a little bit more open to discussions since the tweets have gone out that are highlighting some of the costs. I'm not very fussy about the costs per se. I know that you feel differently. Like if you're in a position where like I need you to spend this time tomorrow on something, then that is a premium that you pay on some things, right? And so I get that. Also like surge costing, right? When you give a weekly quote, let's say I need 5 people to work on this on a single day, you pay a premium for that too. But yeah, I'm not gonna comment too much on it. I'll wait until after the vote concludes on the 10th to do that.
What would be happening with, given that L2 beat withdrew with this proposal? Because originally outlined were, different organizations that were going to be participating in part of it, and them being kind of a major player, 1/3 of the group. Are they just kind of leaving that as insertable, or like if this were to get high signal, and then people would vote on, who fills in their spot? Like, how does that work exactly? I know these are all just signaling and heat checks. So is it more just, okay, people in theory agree that this is a good model, and then before it went to on-chain voting, people would discuss and vote on who is fitting in their place if L2B didn't want to come back?
Yeah, so
'Cause it seems odd to put up another snapshot with a new, service provider to then get a heat check again on, hey guys, I know you liked it last time, and there was a lot of contention, and we talked about this for weeks, but let's do this all over again with a new name.
Sure. My opinion, and I'll tread carefully, right? Because I'm like in a lot of these discussions. And
I'm not, so
I want to be
I'm
careful. I want to be
I'm
careful
prodding
prior to the
DK
end of
about
the
stuff
vote.
that's sensitive that I don't know.
Yeah. So the L2 beat has, and I think he liked that post that I posted earlier today. Yes, they have decided to kind of make sense to have a committee or instead of a single advocate. So I'm happy that they did that. Appreciate that. And I think that if it moves forward, if it gets approved, they will then change from L2 beat to a committee or an election process for the advocate role. If it's not approved, then I don't think they're going to try again for the snapshot vote. But that's my opinion.
Sense.
I don't know exactly what their plan is. I'm not the coalition group, but I think that is a potential outcome is that if it's approved, then they will swap out L2 for someone else. If it's not approved, I don't know what they plan on doing.
Yeah. Full disclosure, yeah, me and DK, I'm in like the delegate chats and like I'm reading up on a lot of stuff, but I haven't talked with DK about this pre-stream or like post our stream the other day. So a lot of times I'm here prodding about things that may be a bit more sensitive to discussions that he's having, and I'm not privy to that. So I'm not trying to, if you're a delegate or a party that's involved, I'm not trying to pry to to put anyone on the spot. I'm truly just asking questions based off of things I'm seeing on Twitter, comments I'm seeing publicly, in case other people have seen this stuff and been like, what are they talking about or what's going on here? This morning I'd seen Eric Wall, tweet about how he was in support of it, and in the scheme of things, it's really not that large of an ask.
Yeah,
And I saw your
generally, I would
response
say
about
that
them.
I agree with his opinions, Eric's opinions on it.
Yeah.
If you read his tweet on it, is that look, these are services that are needed. These are firms that have very high integrity, and see that there is a potential conflict of interest with having L2B be the advocate role, right? So those are like the same points that I echo. So that's a good starting spot if you're just learning about this, trying to find out more.
Yeah. Okay. Off of governance news and other things, STIP rewards started rolling out this week. We've seen in Risk, at least, Risk is ripping and a tearing in the options category. Where are they at today? They were number 2 yesterday. They're up like what, 2,000% in TVL or something, or volume.
A lot. They're killing it, dude.
A lot.
Yeah, so they did about 1 million in volume. They did about 25% of global volume yesterday. They did 1 million in volume.
Whoo! It's hot.
They're killing it,
Who's
dude.
next?
They're sucking all the air out of the room. And and at the time we were negative. We were doing some subgraph stuff. So I don't. We're always testing our data analytics and prod, right? We're like constantly.
Yeah.
We're trying to optimize or factor code and stuff, and so we break things on the data analytics side. And it's like not an immediate priority for us. We're trying to get everything ready for like our STIP process right now. So like, yeah, we're
testing prod advocates.
We're testing and prod on the subgraph side of things, and that's what feeds DeFi Llama, right? So our analytics sometimes is last night it was negative, right? So
I saw that in the picture. It was like, and it was funny because ours was so negative and Risks was so up. It was like they literally just sucked TVL from everyone.
I
All right, so
mean,
Risk is up and active now.
mhm.
Do we know who else is lined up for their initiatives next? I know that STIP is being released to everyone. It seems like this week, so it's just a matter of individual protocols planning out their launches and deployments of this.
Yeah.
Um,
So the background behind the scenes, you got to do a KYB process. That process is pretty complex, I would say, comprehensive. And so there's like a lot of things and a lot of recent documents you need to have or verified documents. And so not everyone was able to get everything over the line within that first week. And so the first allocation was kind of done on Friday. I think the second allocation of essentially will be this Friday. But a lot of groups were able to finish KYB, including ourselves last week. So we would anticipate this week we would get ours. It's back funded, like it's backdated to October 15th. It's a stream, right, in which that you can claim at any point in time. Castle Cap actually has a Twitter group in which that you can see who has claimed and who has not claimed yet. But there has not been a lot of groups that have technically like are ready to support. So far, I anticipate, this is my opinion, that most will be probably around the first week of December, and it's going to be like an 8-week sprint of allocating at all of that, all the STIP recipients ARB tokens. And so, yeah, some of them are ready to go and are already in place. Some of them are doing on-chain mechanisms for distribution. Some of them are doing off-chain mechanisms for distribution. There's no rhyme or reason to it. So depending on the level of technical implementation, you're going to see different projects kind of be ready at different points in time. But I anticipate most will probably be ready by December 1st. But yeah, you're
let
seeing
the rush begin.
yeah. So Risk, obviously Risk was one of the first. I don't even. I'd have to look at the room. I don't even know who's claimed. I think
Yeah, I
Radiant
didn't
maybe.
know. Send me that link. I'd love to see. I'd love to keep an eye on that. We can talk about that on the stream
There's
as
also, yeah,
well.
there's also a Hedgie dashboard, but the Hedgie dashboard doesn't have like the counterparties on it, so you'll have to like go to the multi-sig and see like who is actually the counterparty that
That's holding
um
those,
yeah
or that's to be distributed to.
but Castle has it. So we got GMX has claimed, Stella, Silo claimed on the 5th, Risk claimed on the 5th, Radiant claimed on the 5th, Angle claimed on the 6th, Vertex claimed on the 6th, and Pendle claimed today. So I would assume that
That'll give you an idea of
yeah.
who will be rolling theirs out probably soon. Pretty interesting to see if we across the whole ecosystem kind of run it back the way that Polygon and AVAX did when AVAX was doing their rush incentives, when Polygon had their, I don't know what they called it, but man, that was a hell of a time to be alive in DeFi. When Polygon was running their incentives.
Do
I'm
these ecosystems have that? I don't. Do
they
they have
didn't
critical
have.
mass anymore?
I don't really see it. And the thing is, at the time, I don't think they did either. So that's what kind of makes me the most interested to see how we are going to how STIP will go. Um, like how much TVL is going to vacation to Arbitrum. Because Polygon didn't have very many native or known DeFi protocols that were launching there at the time. When they did theirs, it was a lot of new lending protocols, new money markets that didn't exist before. So like people were using things like, I don't know, there were like 5 different dexes that popped up. KeyDAO, my finance, is probably the only one that is still around, still doing things in a bigger way. But I can't really think of any protocols gains, maybe. No, they were on BSC. They weren't on Polygon. Or maybe they were on Polygon too. Something tells me they were. But either way, yeah. I mean, KeyDAO Mai is probably the only one that comes to mind that is still around, has expanded to other networks, and has kind of left a footprint. Whereas with Arbitrum, there's already kind of this large. I think of it as like the DeFi L2. There's already this large centralization of economic activity protocols that are like true DeFi protocols, I guess. Give you traditional finance tools in like a decentralized way, I guess you could say. And because we already have that kind of base, I wonder if it will be significantly more stimulated, given the amount of things you can do. Now, the other side of me that is like, maybe it won't be, is, the market was significantly different at the time. There was a lot more capital. We hadn't had any of these blowups. All of those funds were trading and buying shitcoins and participating. So, that's the other end of it, right? Like, do we see as much inflow, as much activity with the loss of a lot of the on-chain degenerates that were just like people at funds that were playing around on-chain?
I don't know. Well, Arbitrum has a lot of
Seems like with
projects
risk.
to allocate to, so I don't know these other ecosystems at all. I know Optimism kind of, and I know Arbitrum very well, and I have no idea what's going on with. Like I know that Polygon's moving over to their new stuff, and they're going app chain, and I know that I don't know what AVAX is doing, to be honest.
DK, the E boy stands for ETH boy.
It's been a long time since I think I've made one transaction on AVAX, and it was a layer 3 quest. I still don't even have a Solana wallet. I never even. I don't even know how Solana works. Like I know from like a technical perspective of the blockchain level, but in terms of like moving funds to Solana and interacting with a protocol that's built on Solana, I don't know anything outside of like the fundamental layer 1 side of things.
I'm gonna let you know, as much as I like to troll Solana people and Solana stuff because it's fun. It's really easy. They have Phantom Wallet. I'm pretty sure Rabby supports Solana. Exodus has an extension and supports them natively. So there's a lot of very user-friendly wallets. Yes, I'm gonna say some good things, shill some stuff about Solana. For wallet side of things are pretty easy to use, user-friendly. Bridges, there's plenty of bridges, especially to go from like Ethereum to Solana. Now, what to do? I think the biggest like cause of concern for a lot of Ethereum DeFi users is the lack of liquidity on the DeFi protocols there. If you're a perp trader, the perp markets aren't as liquid. Similar complaints you get when you go to like any L2 and you're used to maybe I don't know, you're using fucking Aave on Ethereum and you go to like their new deployment on Harmony. Like there's not going to be the depth of liquidity there that that was there on the native on Ethereum. It's a very similar like case for Sol, but as far as like UX, it's a pretty easy flow and user experience for bridging and getting assets over.
That's nice.
I do dabble. You know me. I like to vacation. What can I say? And Solana's sunny at times.
Remember when they was it Lollapalooza or Coachella, or I think it was Lollapalooza.
I think it was
They sponsored
Lollapalooza.
Solana Summer.
Mm-hmm. About to run it back this
Maybe.
summer. It's gonna be Pepsi summer. All right, I'm trying to think. There was something else that I had seen that I wanted to chat about outside
On-chain
of
volumes
Arbitrum
back.
stuff.
That's good.
On-chain volumes back. Everything's up. Are we all gonna make a DK, or is this the like end of year pump into the holidays? Like it seems like we always have this just before Christmas pump, and then
Yeah, the
you can
Santa rally. Yeah, I mean, I don't.
blame it on whatever you want, taxes or people paying off their credit cards, whatever. But then you have the New
Okay, I'll
Year's
tell you this. All right,
dump.
and I think this is a narrative that hasn't been picked up, and I know I've tweeted about it at least once. Is next year is the year of the dragon. Okay.
BSV is gonna replace BTC. Is that why you're saying this?
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. There's a lot of stigma and um, what's the right word for it? There is a lot of communities around the world that the year of the dragon is a good year, right? And all I'm saying is next year's year of the dragon. So I think the bottom's in. I think we'll roll into ETF approval in January, and then we'll roll into BTC happening. I don't really see like a major pullback. Um, maybe a minor correction, but I don't see any sort of major pullback at this point in time. I kind of
You don't
see that.
see us. You don't see a healthy pullback after tokens like Wigger have gone thousands of percent up. Uh,
Yeah, but you guys are
you
like
know,
you get like not saying you guys, but like the meme coin going from 100K market cap to 10 million market cap. Sure, 1,000% up. 10 million market cap is realistically $1 million in liquidity in the more buys than sells. So, look, I mean, I get these markets; they're reflexive. You have a little bit of liquidity that sells, and it goes back down to exactly where it was. Um, so yeah, meme coins are so low cap that I don't think people make a little bit of money on their 10x long on 100 ETH move, and then go give it back to the casino, right?
you
So
keep ticker Bitcoin out of your mouth.
I like. They have good memes. They have the best memes.
Well, I mean that is I think that's something that a lot of people miss, like especially ones with like traditional like trading background. You see it a lot with like the people that take themselves a bit more seriously with them being a trader. Um, so like they don't understand that those memes and that attention is the narrative, and the more attention it gets, the more volume that it creates, more number goes up. Like it's a very, very
Well,
simple.
it's the front end of the dragon.
Yeah,
It's the front end. It's the retail facing. It's the
attention
I
bodes
this
liquidity.
this guy made $10 million on whatever
It's
meme
not even
coin.
the making money. You don't even have to get into like the shill marketing part where it's like marketing.
No, but
Yeah,
the
it's all shill
coverage,
marketing,
right? The
but the
coverage on the TikToks and the Instagrams and like the getting in front of people again so that people start paying attention again,
yeah,
right?
yeah, totally.
That front runs the entire narrative, right? So like
Yep, yep. You
and
don't have
that
to
is
mention
usually led
price at
by the
all.
get rich quick gambling um area, and those are massive markets, right?
Yep.
Like I was not aware of how massive the sports trading industry was since a lot of these apps got approved. I ever like all like within the last year, always every time I go to a meetup with my normie friends, every single one of them is gambling on everything. I'm like, dude, that's so part of our culture. There's gonna shift to they're like betting 200 to win 100, right? Or they're betting 10 to win 100, right? And it's like very low probability stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
ours is actually probably a better use of their time, because I'll tell you what, they're not
Totally.
experts in sports. Um, and so that
I stopped
that
watching sports
attention,
for that reason. like as religiously as I did in my younger years. I came to a point in my life where I started looking at it and thinking of it as like a time drain when I'm not going to the actual game. Like I totally get when people, like go to a house party, they all sit around, they watch sports. It's like, you know, social activity, community thing, everyone's having fun, whatever. But for me, because I don't engage in like a lot of that, unless I'm going to the event to like actually enjoy an experience, I feel like it's such a waste of a few hours that I could have been making money in some way or learning something that's going to help me make money in a few days or a week. So it's almost become like detrimental to my like fun having because I have this scale that I'm using a lot of times inside my head that is like, is this like, is my time more valuable doing something else in a very like literal sense? And sports, because the only way that I've been able to rationalize like being watching sports on television and being making it something that I do regularly would be if I were gambling on it. Because like then I could quantify, okay, like I spend 2 hours of my day watching guys play with a ball for 20 seconds at a time before they get a whistle blown for fouling because now we play this new game of you can't touch anyone in contact sports. So like I waste a bunch of time watching that and like if I don't enjoy it the way I did when I was a kid, then like I have to find some way to enjoy that. And the only way is if I like come out on top when I leave.
I think of a few things. I think that
Maybe I
humans
need
are
therapy.
inherently competitive, and it is a natural progression to adult competitiveness is to have a support for a team like that. I completely agree. I think you're going to be preaching to the choir because anyone that's watching this is probably also in that same boat of not really watching sports. However, you see that like tribal nature and competitiveness already, and
Totally.
like it's coming all the way back to the L2s. Like I definitely see in L2s right now. But I will say though that some of the community elements I tweeted, some of my normally friends follow me on Twitter, and I tweeted a thing this week about is the crypto media networks going to stop shilling Solana now that Breakpoint's over? And then like someone repeat like immediately, like I think yesterday I saw there were like 4 podcasts on Solana because now it's like, oh, these are the ones we recorded at Solana Breakpoint. But one of my friends immediately like texted me and he's like, stop, like, stop flooding my bags. So like there is some of that community element, right? So like, so they're already starting to come back in. And so, I mean, that's cool to see.
Yeah, I
But I
played
wasn't
competitive
anticipating
sports
that
like my whole
this week.
childhood and adolescent life. So like totally get the uh, tribalism, camaraderie, joy in beating your competitor, all of those aspects of it. And like as a fan, being able to support and be happy for, when your team wins. I totally get all that. Um, I think it's more of a me thing because of like how I have to quantify the waste of time. Even though it's not a waste, right? Like you can quantify the value in it a lot of different ways. But to me, it's like, did I did I lose opportunity to be doing something that would have like gotten me further than sitting on this couch?
Yeah,
I
man, you
guess
don't got
I
to
guess
disrespect me,
anyone
man.
listening to this who
I'm the
knows
same
me
way.
would say the same thing about like video games and Fortnite. They'd be like, "Dude, you play 2 hours of Fortnite every night. You're wasting time doing that."
Yeah,
So I
it's
guess
2
it's the
hours of
same
work
thing.
we could be getting out of you.
I do it late in the evening. I
Your
should
eyes
be
are open,
sleeping.
dude. You could be working.
I'm it's brand awareness, okay? I'm telling people to check out our website, our merch store, our our academy. Um,
Oh,
it
on
is always an
Fortnite.
interesting
Got it.
conversation. Yeah,
Good.
yeah. I have people that always ask like what I do. I'm like,
I'm a
I
financial
work in
advisor.
I work in finance.
Finance.
That's what I tell them. I work in finance, and you can check out my website, and they're like, yeah, one of those crypto bros.
All
You
right.
deal with the cryptos.
I think that's the show
All right.
today.
Yep. Let's wrap it up. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Our next show will be quite fun. I've been chatting with the Sanko boys, so we should have a Sanko stream next. We'll see when that goes live. Thanks for tuning in. See you on Friday. Adios, boys and girls.
Ciao.